Welcome to Design Your Life, the podcast where we speak with everyday people about living with intention and creating a life that's true to them. I'm your host, Jim Mantler, and I'm super excited to have with me today, Andrew Holmes. Andrew, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, brother. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, so am I. I'll share a quick story with you. When I first found my passion for digital design, sharing stories and sharing stories of others and inspiring people to live authentically. I mean, this was many years ago now, and I created a brand called Positive Frequency. And it's funny because when I did that, I started seeing your content all over my Facebook, and especially Love Over It at the time. And I was so curious to learn more about you, learn more about what that meant to you, and just kind of share your story. But at the time, I wasn't really living, fully an authentic life, and whether it be fear or just lack of confidence, I just didn't have the ability to reach out to you. And I don't know your beliefs, and well, we'll share probably what they are on this show, but I always find that the universe has a way of directing us to where we're meant to be, and really getting us engaged and in touch with the proper people who are meant to be in our lives. And I share that with you because many years later, I'm going on this journey of mine, and I'm living more authentically. And here I am doing what I love to do and doing this podcast, Design Your Life. And sure enough, doesn't your content start popping up on my Facebook feed more and more? And I can't help but think, like, here's the universe steering me again in the right direction and giving me this opportunity again to really find out who Andrew Holmes is and a little bit more about your brand, or brands, I should say multiple, and hear your story. So I'm super excited to have you on the show, and it's great how the universe kind of, brought us together and have the opportunity now to share your story with everybody listening. So with that said, I'm curious, what does designing your life mean to you personally?
Man, such a great question. And I just want to say first, I love that. I love that you're seeing the thread between the connection and the story like that. I get that a lot too. And I see how points of of our lives just connect. And then where does that lead? And you look back and it's like, oh, how do we end up here? It's a crazy thing. So I appreciate you doing that and stepping out and your fear to to make that happen. Designing my life. Okay. So what that means to me is basically what the question implies. It's that I do design it and that I have the ability to design it to a certain degree. I also have to turn a lot of that over to God and let him and acknowledge who he is and let him have that. But what it mostly means is being intentional. That's a huge word, really.
Right.
Intentionally choosing the things that I want. So over the course of my life, and I've gotten better at this over time, in my early, parts of my life and in my 20s and that type of thing, I was not living intentionally. I was going according to what, other people were saying were the right things to do. And this is how you should live, as far as how you should spend your time. Here's who you should hang out with. Here's how you should show up. Here's what's important. All those things. And, whether that be, partying, whether that be chasing certain jobs, whether that be chasing certain girls or friends or whatever. And as I've grown out of that and stepped more into a life that I want to live, that's what I've noticed most is when I reflect back on that time, especially in my early 20s, it's so funny. I actually thought of this recently. There was those things that I was doing, chasing certain jobs, chasing certain environments, chasing certain people. Even when I would get those things, if I would, show up to that party, if I would show up to that job, there was always something about me where I was like, there's a disconnect here. I shouldn't be in these places. I shouldn't be doing these things. I'm not enjoying where I'm at. Yeah. So along the lines of self-discovery and, having bring the right people around me and all kinds of different things, I've learned that I can and I should be spending a good amount of time deciding, what makes most sense for me to do. Who should I be spending my time with? What should I be putting my energy towards? Whether that's, how I show up for my family, or what I do for a career. Like oftentimes when I first make some decisions, it's like doesn't make sense at first, but every day when I'm like lining myself with those intentional things, I feel a peace in those things that affirms that I'm in the right direction. So it's been great.
Yeah, discuss more about not feeling in the right place, because you just mentioned about kind of going to parties and just being there and somehow subconsciously kind of knowing that you're just not meant to be there, but you're there anyways. How did you reflect on that, or what was the sign that really opened your eyes to you know, really know and understand that you're not meant to be there? Because I'm sure we all have those little feelings, or, I mean, I'll say like a gut feeling. Let's just call it a gut feeling. We all have that. But how do you lean more into that and, decide that, okay, yeah, something's off here, right? Like, how do you discover that?
Yeah, it's a good question. Okay, the partying, like looking at the partying is going to would be the easiest one to look at. There's
Mhm.
all kinds of examples. Okay, so from I don't know, 17 to 30, like 30 years old, I was like a partier, right? So I was drinking
Yep.
lots. I got into drugs, cocaine, other things, and I spent like every weekend chasing those things.
Right.
And so what's interesting is I've been, just to fast forward, but I've been sober since I was 30. I'm 35 now, so over 5 years I've been sober. But so I've had a lot of time to reflect on this. But somewhere in the middle of that, right? I'm going through this motion of still showing up to parties and still hanging out with certain people, and I'm like, it's not how I want to show up. How I wanted to show up was how I would show up like on a Monday morning, for example, and then go to work, and I would be a person that adds value, and then the week would go by, and I would kind of show up for my community, show up for people, and then Friday night would hit, and I'd be in these like dark places. It was a total disconnect.
Right.
What had happened though, and how I got there was, um, it's what was modeled to me early on in my life. I saw a lot of partying. I saw a lot of drinking. All my friends were doing it. In fact, as I look at like youth coming up now, if they don't party, I'm like, how? Like that was not an option.
Right.
Okay. And as we all do, I was longing for belonging and longing for connection. So it all just kind of made this mess of where it's like this makes a lot of sense. But even in my earliest partying days, like 19, 20, 21, I remember like being like, you know, deep in it. But even in these circles and feeling like this, I'm enjoying it because there is obviously a certain part of partying that you enjoy, but then the night gets later and you're like, this isn't good. So I remember when that would happen, um, that I would have that feeling of like, I'm not where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's sinful. Like that, like, what is going on? Like, why am I in this room?
Right.
Right? Why am I here? And I had to, as I got older, I had to look at that, and it got really challenging to keep up that lifestyle, especially when I got married and my daughter came along, because was trying to continue to live that out. Like I was trying to continue to show up on Friday and Saturday nights partying, and then be a dad in between it, and then be a dad all week, and be someone who was having a career and that type of thing. And I had to really decide, like, these things are working hard against each other. I cannot continue to do this. So I had to really look at that and decided that it had to die in order for the rest of my life to live.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've always had a say in your life's direction?
No, I don't know. I mean, oh my gosh. I think there's an argument that none of us really do, really, because we're all like I'm in marketing, right? And so
Right.
because I'm in marketing, there's a certain level of education I have, an interest I have in human psychology, right? And how the mind works, and
Uh-huh.
in human behavior and all those things, right? So because of that understanding and that interest, I know how like fallible the mind is, and how it can be easily influenced. And right. So, okay. So, this, the TV shows we watch, and the music we listen to, and the content we consume, and like the environments we're in really do shape us. Really, really, really do shape us. There's a reason that, for example, like if you looked at someone who would just charge for selling drugs, for example, they look like, a certain type of person you would see in a music video. Like there's a correlation there because that's what they're talking about in their videos. That's not a condemnation on those people or anything like that. Like I was in that lifestyle before. I dressed like that. I'm just saying there's a reason that happens because we model what we see. So I think we're all majorly influenced far beyond our intellect, but but there is an opportunity in that. It doesn't mean that we're completely like flowing along this sea and we have no say. We can we can capture those thoughts. Like we can
Mm-hmm.
stop and say, no, I'm not going to do that. And then like the question you posed was, can you be can you actually decide, can you
Mm-hmm.
design your life? But yes, it takes us it takes stopping, seeing where you're at, and then intentionally choosing which way you want to go. So yeah, for a large part of my life, I've totally been, going with the flow.
Yeah. So you said something interesting because, excuse me for a second. Um, we are obviously shaped by environment, how we're brought up, what we decide to watch or what content we take in. But you said something before you can really shape or decide how you choose to live, you have to stop and reflect. I think that's the challenging part for a lot of people is that ability to, we always think we just got to be somewhere and do something and make a decision right away. We don't understand or, we don't realize that, well, wait a minute, there's nothing wrong with just stopping. Don't worry about getting anywhere. Don't worry about doing anything, but let's just reflect on who we are, what are we taking, and all, I believe that's the part that's missed, especially with, you know, and I'll throw it out there. I'll do a generational thing here, but especially with younger adults now growing up, just there's so much content, so much stuff, and life is so busy and moves so quickly. The ability to stop is just not there anymore, right? So I like how you pointed that out because I do believe you cannot change, and I'll speak for personal experience, I guess, and not for anybody else. But I was not able to make a change until just my life just came to a halt, and it forced me to stop and reflect. And I wish I could have made that decision intentionally way back when, right? So I like that you shared that. And, would you agree with that? That you really, in order to get further, you do have to stop, and that's probably one of the key, most important things about change is the ability to just stop, think.
Oh my gosh, I agree. I go way beyond agreeing with that. Like I fundamentally like subscribe to that. Um, I walk with a lot of men specifically, like
Mhm.
because I'm open and vulnerable, so that invites a certain level of trust. So if I could show you my Facebook Messenger inbox, it's just full of people struggling, and
Mhm.
not that I'm like an expert in those areas, but I can at least talk to them. And they feel safe with me.
Right.
But that's the common thing is that not enough people are stopping to look at their situation and then believing that something else can be done with it. And there's a lot that goes into that. So, um, one of the things, so I'm part of a men's ministry also, and it goes through a teaching thing. And one of the first session of this teaching course is that it introduces this idea of the poser.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like okay. So, and basically what ends up happening is that this is a human condition that we go through certain experiences early in our life, and to protect the thing where areas we've been hurt in our younger years, we create this poser, this mask.
Right.
And we assign ourselves to it, and then we do whatever we can to protect it, right? And we need to show it to everyone, but it's not what matters most. And often, and then what happens too is, because we're trying to promote that so much, we forfeit the authentic experience of life because we're afraid to show who we really are.
Right.
So the idea is that we have to kill that poser as best we can, like every day. And the way to do that is to stop, literally stop, and reflect on who you are and where you've been. But the challenge with that is that to do that, you have to be willing to kill certain parts of yourself, because when you look at yourself, there are going to be things that you do not like. There are going to be lots of things: the way you spoke to somebody, the way you made that decision, how you didn't treat that person right, you stole from here, you yelled at that person. There's all kinds of things. You took that drug, you cheated on that test. There's a lot that you've done,
Yep.
and you need to stop and look at those things and massage those things out and come to terms with those things in order to be able to. You can't step into your true, authentic, fulfilled, like free life until you do those things, and it's very difficult. I heard something recently. It says, we all hate, we hate hypocrites. We hate it. It was like, if I see you acting different than you say you're going to act, if I see you do that, if Jim acted different than he says he acts, I'm calling you out and I'm not trusting you anymore. That's the way we want to do it. But
Right.
what we fail to realize is we're all hypocrites. The human condition does not allow us to act 100% according to our values all the time. So because we make mistakes, we try to bury those mistakes. We try to push those aside and say, "Oh, that's not me." But that's when our life gets weighed down. That's when we are not allowing ourselves to live according to our authentic selves. That's where we forfeit relationships, because we can only have true good relationships when we're authentic. All these things. So in order to step into that beautiful life that God's given us and planned for us, we literally have to stop
Right.
and look at those things. Allow others to say, "Hey, look, this is kind of messed up. You need to fix that." If not, our whole life is built defending something that should be there in the first place.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I get goosebumps even sharing that. It's, yeah. And for men, I do believe it's harder because we do have this persona of just being rigid and tough and can't share this stuff, right? So, um, what was there a specific moment or experience that kind of pushed you to redesign your life? What allowed you to stop and really reflect? What was that aha moment for you?
Yeah. Um. So, huh, the aha moment. So the stuff we're talking about right now, we're basically talking. Okay, so I just introduced like the idea of a poser, and then your
Mhm.
authentic life. We all have it,
Right.
and we've also talked about how these come head to head, and
Mhm.
that's where a lot of anxiety in life comes from, right? Because we're
Yep.
trying to balance too much. We're afraid of people seeing who we really are. Okay, so those two worlds, the world I was posing as and who I wanted to be, were like crashing like two rams.
Right.
And it would have been in 2018-ish. Okay. um so at that time I had my daughter was 3, my son was just born. Excuse me. And I was trying to live both lives. I was trying to be super dad,
Mhm.
super husband. I had a small business at the time. My main job, I still had a career, but I was trying to be entrepreneurial, but I was also trying to be Friday night guy. And I also had alcohol had a hold on me as well, and that kind of fueled that. But I was supposed to be trying to be life of the party. And what was happening was that those Friday and Saturday nights were spilling over, like over on a Saturday and Sunday morning for sure. But
Right.
then it started going into Monday, into like those 2-day hangovers, right? What a blessing from God that is. Um, where I couldn't show up because I couldn't even like handle a conversation with my kids on like Tuesday night because I drank Saturday because I'm
Mhm.
so beaten. And I'm going, what is going on? Something's got to give. Like I can't step into what I want to. Like, here's the thing. Actually, it's an actual practice I did. I listed like the 10 things that I wanted out of that like year out of my life. Okay,
Uh-huh.
I wanted to, own a business. I wanted to be a new father or a good father, a good husband. I wanted to go on vacation to like Florida. I wanted to, I already owned my home at that point, but I wanted to, give back to my community. I wanted to, okay. So when I landed on that list of 10 things, nowhere on there did it say that I wanted to get drunk every
Right.
weekend, that I wanted to make more party friends. Like it just wasn't there. So there's again disconnect because a lot of my time and a lot of my money was going in a direction that made no sense. Actually, that's one of the things I had in the list. I wanted to make more money. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm spending 50, 60, 70, $120 a week on booze. It makes no sense. So that was the big deciding moment for me. Um, there are other ones for sure, but that was the biggest to where I was looking at the life I wanted and the life I had in front of me, and it was falling apart because I was chasing after this thing that really held up this poser view. Oh, because I developed that pose, I developed that mask in my early 20s because I was slightly introverted. I didn't feel like I belonged in certain crowds. I had a tough time keeping friends and all these things. And then, but I'm like, oh, if I'm drinking, I had
Right.
lots of friends. So then and I was like, I don't want to lose that identity because it meant so much it filled my ego. And one last thing on this, it's for a cup so I stopped drinking in 2020 or sorry, 2019 for the next like 3 or 4 years and probably even still today. No, not so much that. I'm actually over it now. If I were to go to a wedding, I would be full of anxiety because I'd be showing up sober the last couple of years. I'd
Right.
be showing up sober. And I was used to going to weddings, shirts off, buying everybody drinks. I'm the guy. We're outside smoking. We're going to some buddy's car to do drugs, and we're out for 2 days. You know what I mean? We're doing all these things. And now I show up at weddings and I feel like everybody expected me to show up that way. And I didn't know how to act. I'm like, I'm not taking my shirt off. I'm not buying drinks. I'm not, and it really caused it. But I had to fight through that. I had to look at that. I
Right.
said,
Right. I'm just making some notes here, and because we all have the need to belong, whether it's a human condition or whether it's something we just are taught, and I don't know what the right answer is, but we all seem to have that need, but yet we don't seem to have the ability to be okay with ourselves individually and be alone. And I struggle with that because a lot of what you're saying kind of resonates probably with everybody watching as well. Is just the ability to be liked, be accepted. But what is the challenge? Why do we have such a hard time being okay with ourselves and our own skin alone, and accepting ourselves? Like, because it all seems like we're trying to chase this identity that
Mhm.
is not us.
Mhm.
We're just trying to fit in. So what? Yeah, like what's your thoughts on that? How did you become self-accepting? Because what I'm hearing is, you went to a wedding, you had such a hard time fitting in because now you don't know how to act. But was the struggle originally you just didn't know how to be yourself to begin with anyways? Like what's your thoughts on that?
Man. The question, like it just strikes almost like an emotional nerve because it's
Uh-huh.
so. I see so many people struggle with it. I struggle with it. I know how freeing it is. Would you do me a favor? Would you ask that question
Yeah.
again?
Yeah. Yes. I'll ask it, in a way to kind of share how I feel about it as well. Because again, we all grow up with this need to be accepted.
Oh yes, that's right.
to
Yeah.
be liked. And, we create these personas, masks. I even alluded to in my last podcast. It seems to be a popular topic because, you know, again, is it a human condition
Hmm.
or is it a genuine need that we have to have acceptance in an environment from other people to be liked by other people? Why do we struggle so much with
Yes.
accepting ourselves and being with
Yeah.
just ourselves? Why do we have to be the life of the party, or why do we have to be? What's wrong with just liking who we are and being alone? Like
Yes.
what's your thoughts on that? Like
So,
when were you able to be self-accepting of yourself, or did you have to do that to overcome that? Say that
yeah.
wedding example, for example.
So good. Okay. So this is why I believe it's so difficult for us to accept ourselves. The human condition is to hate evil, hate bad things, hate wrong, hate hurt, hate, we desire good. We desire
Hmm.
light. We desire health. We desire these things. Many people, I struggled. People probably, I don't know who, I've never met someone who hasn't struggled with looking at themselves, because there are certain things in us that we assign to being dark or bad or gross or shameful. And if they knew this about me, they wouldn't associate with me. And the, and then that lends itself to, we have the strongest desire. We're made for human connection. So if you, for example, if I just met you and I'm like, oh, I did something wrong, which was I did drugs when I was in my 20s, you go, I'm not associating with you. I can't be a part of, I can't be a part of that. I
Right.
can't contribute to you not being around me because of that. Like that's suicide. Like that's a you're voluntarily saying, I'm going to kill off or I'm going to be a part of the reason that my part of me dies, because I'm going to push away relationships. Okay. So how did I get to a point where I could, like, I literally, man, like, so this whole stuff we're talking about here, and like me being vulnerable and open book, like
Mhm.
I got to a point where I'm so accepting of, the things that I've done and gone through. Like I've had this conversation in front of a room full of 125 people where I'm up giving the keynote talk saying, hey, I just met all you guys and you're all business owners and I should want to mingle with you, but guess what, I did drugs and I broke the law when I was younger, and I'm okay with that, because this is, and didn't happen overnight, but I got to that point because this is so key. Once I started to first make the decision to look at the things I've done and
Mhm.
wrestle with them, then this is the key: share it with other people.
Sure. Yeah.
Secrets die in safe places. Shame dies when secrets are shared in safe places. Shame dies when you shame to die. Once I shared it with my wife, a few friends, okay, and I share it. I say, this is the gross thing I've done, and they go, man, yeah, I'm sorry, and that's really tough. I don't see you any different. In fact, I actually see you in a better light, and in fact, I actually want to help you through that. Okay. So that's that's countercultural. So that happened, but it didn't happen on a larger scale. So I started going to church when I was like, my daughter was born in 2015. So 2015, so almost 10 years ago, I started going to King's Church here in Quispamsis. And so not only was I able to share that with a few people, I was actually walking into a community of people that were doing that. People
Right.
that are raising their hands saying, I've done messed up things, or I've fallen short in this area, or whatever. So now not only am I able to share with other people without being looked on, I'm being accepted, and it's part of the community. It's part of like what everybody's doing. So I start feeling healing, and I'm like, oh, this is good. And remember that fear we talked about where it's like, if I show you the dirty parts of me, I expect you're going to run, because I hate dirtiness. I hate dirtiness in the world, right? I expect you're going to run. But I'm showing them my dirty sides, and they're not running. They're coming to my side.
Right.
They're building me up, and they're calling me out into my future, and they're building, and they're supporting me. So now I'm going, I want more of this. So I just, I go on this like adventure of just like there's two things happen. I go through this like cleansing of my life. I'm just like, I need to get it all. I'm going to counseling. I'm sitting with friends. I'm getting it all out. I'm going to sit with my wife. All these dirty things I've done. I need to get it out. I need to rid myself of these things. That's the first thing that happens. I do like a major, like, reboot. Next thing I do, I make it a practice, like a daily practice. This is where we fall short again. But I do a daily practice to do it again. Invite more people in. But what happens is we're still human, and over time things build up, and then you get this anxiety. Like, oh my gosh, I'm not living authentically. Oh, I forgot, I haven't shared this with somebody recently, or I forgot. Oh, I'm actually building up a mask again. Oh, I got to deal with that, and it goes on and on and on. But I've already built the strength. I've already built the rhythm to know that the secret is this living authentically and bringing people in. And if people can get into that idea that you will be accepted, or you should be accepted for your faults, flaws, and shortcomings. If you bring that to people, if you actually bring those things to someone and they condemn you and they push you away and they don't truly help you, that's not your person. That's not your.
Yeah. Let's, and I want to elaborate a little bit on counseling versus sharing within
Mhm.
the community. Yeah, because it's part of the whole reason I wanted to do this podcast, a Studio for Good, our blogging site on Facebook, because I truly believe that, listen, nothing against counseling. Counseling's great. See it. But when we do counseling and counseling only, it's almost like we're still trying to keep it private. And we still think there's something wrong with us. And I got to go see this person individually. Nobody else around me can know about it. Whereas sharing with a community, um, sharing with others, I truly believe that our neighbors, people within, an arm's length of us, are all going through so many similar things. And yet we still feel we got to keep it hidden and buried. And yeah, and, yeah, so counseling's great. Listen, people need it 100%. But I loved how you shared just sharing your stories with others, community, friends, family, because I really do believe it's liberating. It is part of the healing process, right? So thanks for sharing that. What 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 helps you push through those difficult moments of doubt or difficulty? Because obviously it is a process. You say it doesn't happen overnight, and nothing happens overnight. But what helps you push through those doubtful times, and when you feel like you might be going backwards, or the mask are being put back on, or whatever the case.
Man, great question. Okay, so it points back to the community,
Uh-huh.
points back to your people, right? So I don't. I need to fact check this again, but I heard on a podcast before from a reliable person, but I don't know for sure, but um, I heard that the translation for wife is in a different language. I think it's Sanskrit or something like that. Is she who finds fault in him? Okay, so whether that's true or not, whether that's not the regular, whether that's the translation or not, doesn't matter. The theory or the idea is so right. So my wife, so God gave it. So okay, we have marriage for a reason, right? We love marriage. The greatest blessing to my ability to step into my authentic life and like the life that I should be having, and the peace and the joy and all those goodness, is by using my wife, or not using her, but like allowing my wife to speak truthfully into me. I've seen it, and I've seen it time and time and time again. The one thing that binds all humans together in the human condition is our suffering and is our struggling. I've never met a person who doesn't have a story. I've never, and I told you before, my inbox full of people who are just vulnerable with me. I've been going through this. I've struggled with that. I've cheated on her. I've done. We all, whatever, they cheated on me. Whatever. All these things. So the first place I go to is my wife. Well, actually, the first place I technically go to is God. Like I don't have a Bible here. I it's upstairs, but I'll read the Word. I'll sit with Him. I actually have this sitting here as a reminder. In the stillness, He is there. So we've already brought up this idea before of like
Right.
calming our minds. Okay, so God, what do you have to say? Next, my wife. So my wife, if it's true that she finds fault in me, what a blessing that is. Because we got to kill the faults, right? So because we're being refined for something better. So if I'm operating here, she sees here. She sees the gap, and she can say, "You're not showing up. You're not showing up. You're not showing up." Now it's her job to do in love. It's her job to not be overly condemning or overly corrective. She has to say, "Hey, I'm seeing these things," and that's where a lot of disconnect or challenges come in marriages, because the wife can't, or the one spouse can't deliver it and with affectionately to the other, and the communication breaks down. That's it. So God first, second my wife. Okay, third community. So this is huge. Men especially are living in isolation. And it's never been more. It's never been crazier because of the internet and all this stuff. Living in isolation. What happens? What's okay? What's the number one punishment they give to some of the most intense criminals in the world? Solitary confinement. Why is that? Because the greatest punishment we can have is to be sitting alone with our own thoughts. The devil loves that stuff, right? So to sit alone with our own thoughts is pure torture. We need to filter those thoughts and have them bounce off of other people that can build us up properly. I actually had this image given to me by God like last week. It's like if I was looking at myself and trying to understand where my faults are or where I need to be better, it's a dirty mirror. I can't see it properly because I got all these things built up. But if I talk to my friends and my wife or my community, oh man, they can call me out and say the good things. They can say, "Oh, you're Andrew, you're an encourager. Andrew, you're a good administrator. Oh, Andrew, you are good at teaching. You're good at mercy. Andrew, you're good." All these things. They can also say, "Man, you've really been lacking on this one thing." Okay. So it's a good mirror. So I need to have community. Now back to your original question, the idea of your whole podcast here, which is I need to do that intentionally. I intentionally go out and build community. Like I have a men's ministry that meets once a week.
Mm-hmm.
On Fire, there's 8 of us. We sit down and we do this. And it sounds real kumbaya type stuff. I'm telling you, man, we sit there and we start. Everyone gets 5 minutes. How's your week? 1 to 5. I'm an 8. Okay. Well, I'm a 3. Well, why are you a 3? Why are you so down? And we can build each other up. Okay.
Right.
I'm actually in other group, like that's my main one. I'm actually in 2 other ones like it. And I'm just like, and like my inbox. So anyway, my point of that is like, you need to find your people who are going to build you up. And this is where I've really struggled with when I was younger in my 20s. Those people that I spend most of my time with, they weren't interested in doing that, and no fault of their own. And I love those people. They're interested in partying. They're interested in fun. They weren't interested in, man, why are you talking to your wife that way? Man, why are you spending your money that way? Man, have your kids seen you? Like you work 60 hours a week. Like they can call it the life in you. So yeah, that's like, it's again, God, wife, and then brothers and sisters too, but mostly brothers for me.
Yeah, and it's so true because I've often said, and the saying is you become similar to the top 5 people you're hanging out
It
with,
is.
and your environment is so important, right? And we don't notice it. Until you take the time to reflect, of course. So transitioning now, then, what brings you joy now, genuinely and consistently?
Mm. I want to share this first. What's hilarious? There's like only one book on my desk here. It's this little journal. It's called the Pause Journal. All it is blank sheets like this. You're supposed to take a minute in the morning, minute in the afternoon, answer some questions. But just to reinforce, why do we need this? It's because we don't do it automatically, but it's so important to be able to sit and reflect. I wanted to share that because I thought it was interesting in our conversation, but to our conversation. But okay, what brings me joy in life today? Yeah. All right. So first, it's the same order actually. My whole life flows from the same order. It's God, it's my house, and then it's my community. So the first is God, like literally sitting in His presence, right? So sitting and meditating on His Word, reading the Bible, going to church, listening to Christian music, like soaking that in and getting His heavenly perspective on my life and on my surrounding. That's the first source of joy. And I'm not just saying that as part of like, that's what I should say, or like, some kind of like canned response. Like I literally mean that when the world around me is going absolutely berserk.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone through berserk things.
Yep.
We all have. it's the ability to sit and see him and say, and him go, no, I love you, and I've got you. Remember that's we were talking about that earlier. We're talking about how do you get accepted? And I mentioned my wife and then the church, but the extension of that I didn't really mention was God saying, I love you and I've seen you and I've seen your hurt. So that's the first. Like I get joy and spark. That's the source of it. Next is my house, right? So the people that live in this home. So I'm blessed to have a 9-year-old daughter, a 6-year-old son, and a wife. And I have that. So pouring into them and pouring into me and having time with them, that's what it all leads back to. Like I love my job, and maybe we can talk about what I do for a living. And I've always been blessed to have work that I enjoy, and that does find me joy, but only to support and provide to
Right.
my life and my home. It can't. And I think I get that backwards before, and other people I see people get backwards, and they work to live or live to work, not work to live, whatever however that goes. But truthfully, I really it's all about this weekend, for example, my son and we went for a bike ride. We went to a lacrosse game. We played some Switch. We watched a movie. The girls went and did their thing. My son and I did. Like that is it's tiring. He's 6. He's got energy like nuts. But like that is joy just to sit in the presence of my son. But then my daughter and I are still talking about being intentional with our lives. I literally, I literally plan my month. This is what it takes to be intentional. I literally have to sit here every month and I plan my month. I actually have to plan things like date nights with my wife. I have to plan. I can't find it really right now, but I literally have to say when, because my calendar is crazy. Like if I showed you my calendar, it's always busy
Right.
at day and night. But I have to this right. This is important. Like my wife, my daughter knows it. Every third or every second Tuesday of the month, her and I we're out doing something. Usually we're going rock climbing. We might go trampoline park tomorrow because it's the third Tuesday. We might do that. But if I don't choose to do that, it's not happening. But
Right.
why is that? That's important, right? So all these things that brings me joy to show up that way. And then the next thing would be community in my work. So all the things I do outside of my home. So my job is amazing. I love what I do for a living, but also I spend my time serving different community, like serving different communities too, different things too. So right now, my area of serving is like men's ministry. So I have a real passion for seeing men. Remember that gap we talked about? Like I showed this, I can see men. I have this vision of like what God wants you to be and how do we get you there? But I don't do it in like a project like kind of way. Like I'm not like, all right,
Right.
let's go through a framework. No, I'm just talking about like I just want to be in a space with you. I went to a men's breakfast on Saturday, just men. Like one guy's going through cancer, one guy's struggling in his business. What are we going through? And just being in that space, allowing that space to happen. Like I love showing up that way, and it gives me pure joy because to see him, to see a man reclaim his life by improving his relationship with his wife or improving the relationship with his kids or improving the relationship with his community or ultimately improving the relationship with God. Like, there's no better joy. Like there's no better outside of my home, obviously, joy than that. So that's what I'm on mission to do. That's where I find most joy in my life.
I love that. Yeah, I had my children are all out of the house, and it was nice because they were all here yesterday. And you just talk about joy, and I can just remember just sitting there thinking, it's just nice, just yeah, being in the presence of my son, my daughter, my grandchild, and everybody under one roof again, just for a moment. And yeah, no, definitely a joyous moment. You talked about your job and stuff like that. How do you express your true self now, creative? Whether it be creatively, emotionally, spiritually.
Yeah. So that's a great question. Um, so creatively, like definitely through my work. So I love, so I'm basically a marketer and I own a marketing consulting business. And I love, remember that, okay, so it's the same thing, right? Like with what I do with people, like if I see you here and you can be here, I'm helping you get to there. Same with businesses. I'll walk into business. I've helped over 450 small businesses in the last like 15 years. That's just the ones that have paid me. There's more I've helped for free, but it's like, I just see that gap and I want to help you. And so I'm like, what's the creative way we can help you be where you want to be? Um, So that's huge for me, creatively. Um, Emotionally, like how do I express myself? I guess it would be again vulnerably. Like I'm on it because I've got the taste of what it's like to like live an authentic life and show up in my like true like truthfully. It's addicting and like to the point where like I'm like, man, like I don't want there to be anything that I do wrong. But that's a hard thing too because you have to make mistakes as you go. But like it's like I just I'm just like how quickly can I identify where I got went wrong so that I can show up better. Um, and then spiritually, it's just like again, it's just like I'm a Christian, love Jesus. I spend a lot of time, you know, again, like reading the Bible, going to church, serving on men's ministry, reading Christian books, like spending. I could do more time, spend more time praying, but I could spend more time doing all of those things. But I aim to improve my connection and my relationship with the Lord, like every day. And the more I pour into that, like the more that I say, hey, like God, what's up today? Like what are we doing? Where should I you like who am I? Like the more I show up that way, the more he responds back, and the more my life just benefits from it. Not benefits in like a materialistic way, like or like a financial way. Although he has blessed me financially in a lot of ways, but that's short. That's shallow stuff. Like the money, whatever. It's in the real things of life, relationships. You know how I'll spend my time, all these things. So yeah,
Yeah, and I like how how you shared that, right? Yeah, financially, because obviously, with your business and stuff like that, you're really doing what you love, living authentically, and just before I move on to the next question, we only got a couple left here.
yeah.
I'm just curious because I love sharing how people or what's the best way to put it? That once you change the mindset, as hard as it is, by the way, because we all live in this economy driven society, and it's hard to like just my own example, always felt like I had to become wealthy. Like for example, when I first started Positive Frequency, and then I thought, well, geez, this is not going to make me enough money. I have to shift gears to be something more that's more mass, or accepted, by society. Because I'm
Mhm.
in
Oh, yeah.
too much of a niche market,
Yeah.
and I switched, and I changed the maritime living, and I changed my design, just changed everything to try to make money, and it didn't feel right. Right. And now I'm kind of switching back to, you know what, I got to do what I love. Stop thinking about the monetary aspects of it, and things will just work itself out as long as you're doing what you love doing. Right. So you mentioned that. So I just want to touch on that a little bit more because I do think it's important for people to hear it because we're so afraid to step out of our comfort zone for fear of survival. I mean, we do have to survive. There is obviously an element of finance that you need to put food on the table and feed the family. But what would you say to that to people that maybe not living authentically and have that fear of doing what they love, or maybe looking at it through the wrong lens of I have to do this to make money versus loving it.
I have so much to say on that. I'll keep it short though. Um, I haven't drawn a paycheck in like three paychecks, like three. I think I don't know when the last time I drew a paycheck was. Um, so my business is 11 months old. Yeah,
Mhm.
and I love my business, but I'm also not doing it like with blindfolders on either. I've got a lot of support and guidance. I know where I'm supposed to be. So here's the thing: is that not drawing a paycheck sucks. And I'm not suggesting that that's a plan that anyone goes towards. And I'm not even suggesting that it's a long term thing. I'm not suggesting that I just accept that and then I just see my house disappear and I'm not saying that's it. I'm just saying that's where I'm at now.
Mhm.
That's where I'm at now. But what's interesting though is that I am at peace, so at peace. Not not to say, and sometimes that's kind of it can be a weird thing to say. It might sound like I'm just like, oh, I'm chilling and I'm just like waiting for it to happen, and like the universe will just manifest it. Like no, like I'm hustling, I'm doing my things, okay. But I'm at peace because only because I know I've stepped into the place that God wants me to be. I know it without a shadow of a doubt. Okay. I know it. And he rewards me with following that by giving me peace. It's the fruit of the spirit. It's the fruit of it. Okay. A year ago, let's just back up a year when I was fully employed, 100% employed. I had a job. I was making I was making great money. I think like over. I think the last year was over $100,000. Not that that's a subjective, obviously. Like some people like that's great money. That's really really low. That was the height of my financial intake ever. So I was like living it, no like minimal debt, like, whatever. Right, little different looking this year. But if we compare August, let's just do July 2025 to July 2024. If we compare the two, I'm living much. This whole theme is authentic. I'm living much more authentically to what I should be doing at this present time than I was at that time. At that time, I just felt like my time at that job had run out. I just felt like I was just showing up to show up. I felt like I wasn't adding any value. I didn't think that God had wanted me there. I didn't think all these things, right? Okay, so I had to make a decision. Do I continue to value money and safety, which is safety is a friggin' like it's such a sham. What does that mean? People at safe jobs get fired all the time, or the company shuts down, or whatever.
Right.
Okay, so was I willing to trade, financial consistency for what I thought it was, for peace and purpose and ultimately where I knew God was calling me? Was I willing to trade that? People ask me all the time, was it scary to step out to own my own business? And the expectation is that I'm just gonna say, oh yeah, it's terrifying. And that, yeah, there are scary parts of it, but I was more afraid. I was so much more afraid to stay where I was at than to move out in this direction. Not because I actually really enjoyed my job. I had a blessed job. I had a really, really great coworkers, great clients, great pay. The whole thing was good. People actually probably thought I was nuts leaving to do this. But I was more afraid to stay than to step out because again, I knew I was called to do this. So there's such thing as called like it's called quenching the spirit. It's like where God wants something for you, but you just say no, I don't want it, and you just miss the blessings that go with it. And that is like that's like you're just forfeiting the life that he has for you, and that's what I was doing. So what's interesting, again, fast forward 11 months, the plan, like where I'm at right now, is not where I expected to be. Truthfully, I was be completely honest with you. It's like I thought that I was gonna be making more money by now. I thought that I was gonna be moving along. I didn't think I was gonna have the challenges I have in business now. I didn't think so. But but even though that's happened, I still have peace in it because he hasn't called me out of it yet, and
Right.
I haven't seen the reasons to go in a different direction. So even still being in this place where I'm at now, living life that I love and living life that I know is important to me, and living life through my values and my those types of things is way, and I'm happier as a result. And my everyone benefit, all these things. I mean, great people, all these things, choosing to do this and designing it this way, and moving in this direction is much better than forfeiting it by just sticking to a paycheck.
Right. No, I love that. So two two final questions for our viewers here. If you could give one message, to someone who feels stuck, feels unfulfilled, just really struggling, what would that be?
It's so simple. Okay, so it's you are loved. Okay, people don't feel loved, but it's loved. You need to dive into this. You are loved way more than you know you are. The Bible says, the Bible says that the Lord, the creator of the mountains, the rivers, the oceans, all this planned for you when you're in your mother's womb. He has every hair on your head. He cares for you more than the birds and flowers. You are loved. And there's an invitation for you to know that. Because there's parts of you that you don't like about yourself. He sees that, doesn't matter to him. Find that. Allow him to speak to you. Find out what like I'm not going to explain to you how you find that, but there's ways. So Google it, go to ChatGPT, find out, how do I hear from God? How do I know that I'm loved by him? And then continue to step into that. So you are loved, and you need to have that buried inside of you. You need to know that without a shadow of a doubt.
Right. You are loved. And final question, or not even a question, favorite quote, mantra, or phrase?
My favorite quote is naturally on theme here, Bible verse. So my favorite Bible verse is, do not be conformed by the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's in a book called Romans, and in the Bible. And the reason I love this so much is it's the invitation we're talking about. It's literally what it sums up our whole conversation. Do not be conformed to the patterns of this world. What are the patterns of this world? Confusion, anxiety, discourse, following the wrong things, hating ourselves, hating others, fear, conflict. These are the patterns. These are the things that have gone on over centuries since the beginning of the world. Division. Do not conform to these patterns. Do not hate others. Do not hate yourself. Do not go out there seeking to cause disruption. Do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed. There's an invitation there to change, to be something new. Okay, use the analogy of a butterfly. Whatever you want to do, something new, something free. Let my life be let this story be a testimony. I'm free. Do not be conformed to the patterns of this world because it hurts. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So everything you want to do, everything you want to achieve, all the freeing things that you want are achieved when we renew our mind. What's that mean? It takes us back to the beginning of this conversation. We have the opportunity to choose the things that we consume: media, people, substances, food. We have been given that one gift to choose what we intake. So be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So allow your mind to be transformed. You have to not even commit your mind to being transformed. And if you can do that, then all the things you want, all the freedom, the joy, the peace, the gentleness, the faithfulness, the goodness, the self-control, all the things that we want in this world, all those gifts will be given to you. So yeah, do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Awesome. Love it. Andrew, listen, I greatly appreciate you again coming on, sharing your story. Thank you. It's great that we finally get to connect in this format. And and for all you listening out there again, remember, you are the author of your life. So design the life you want. Thanks for listening.